Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Chess in Education webinar, How Philanthropy Supports Chess in Education. This is the last one of the school year. My name is Renee Bartlett, and I am Executive Director for U.S. Chess. Tonight, we have an all-star panel for you, and I'm so excited to get to introduce them to you. First, we have Dewain Barber. He's the Dean of Scholastic Chess. He's the co-author with Ralph Bowman of the book series Humor in Chess. He has partnered with U.S. Chess for years, financing the Dewain Barber National Tournament of Middle School and Middle School State Champions, or the Barber. And last year, in 2023, he and his wife, Sue, endowed the Dewain Barber National Tournament of Middle School State Champions. We also have John D. Rockefeller V, Chair of the U.S. Chess Scholastic Council and member of the Scholastic Committee. He's a volunteer U.S. Chess Tournament Director, and he has endowed 5 events: the Paul Morphy National Tournament of K1 State Champions, the G.M. Maurice Ashley National Tournament of K3 State Champions, the John D. Rockefeller III National Tournament of Elementary School State Champions, the John T. Irwin National Tournament of Senior State Champions, and the F.M. Sunil Weramantry National Blitz Tournament of State Champions. We also have Mark Indermaur. He's the co-chair of the Chess and Education Committee. He was named North Carolina Chess Coach of the Year in 2016, 2020, and 2023. In 2023, he was also named the inaugural winner of the Andy Lerner Award for Excellence in Chess Education. He's the co-founder of the Indermaur Chess Foundation, helping parents, teachers, and volunteers start chess clubs in North Carolina schools, libraries, and community centers. We are also joined by Chess and Education Committee Co-Chair Christina Mullinax, the U.S. Chess Director of Programs, Devon Croxton, and our moderator is U.S. Chess Director of Development, Geoff Isaak. Geoff, handing it over to you.
Thank you, Renee. And thank you, everyone who's not just participants, but everyone that is also joining us as an audience member. We have a pretty tight schedule here in terms of an hour, so and a lot of questions. So I ask that you just be as concise as you can. But the first question that I have is individually, I'd like to ask our 3 main panelists the following question, and try to keep your answer to around 5 minutes. But what inspired you to get involved with chess on a philanthropic level? And Dewain, let's start with you.
Thank you, Geoff. I always have to have my wife, who is the best at helping me write things. So she timed me. It's 5 minutes, so we're going to stay in the mold. Here we go. I did not plan to become a philanthropist, but over time it happened. This is how. According to the dictionary, philanthropy is a love of humanity shown by practical kindness and helpfulness. A philanthropist is a person who practices the above, especially by giving sizable donations of money to worthy causes. I started out as a minor philanthropist when I donated my time to organizing an after-school chess program at Calder School for no pay. I then became editor of the Orange Knight, but received no remuneration. I organized Junior High League of Orange County without recompense, and took my chess club team to tournaments without asking for compensation from the district. When I took my students to nationals, I laid out my own money for my hotel room and airline ticket. When I joined Southern California Chess Federation and became the scholastic coordinator, I received no remuneration for driving to LA once a month for meetings. As the organizer of the Denker and other invitationals, I have always acquired my hotel room and airline tickets at my own expense. When I finally made my last mortgage payment, I had some extra money, and so I began donating to the U.S. Chess Trust to help defray costs of the Denker Invitational after Arnold passed away in 2005. And later I donated to the Barber Invitational. When I turned 70, yeah, I'm that old, turned 70 in 2015, I was required to start withdrawing money. And I thought, what do I do? So I approached US Chess. I now am co-scholarship sponsor for the junior championship, the cadet and the girls junior championship. When my wife and I were in the 40s, we bought some land. When we did, we were able to sell those, and we created a scholarship at my former university, a sizable donation also toward the U.S. Chess Trust for the Barber. In 2021, with the assistance of Dylan Quersha, we created Chess Prodigies, a nonprofit organization which assists students in achieving their educational goals through the study and practice of chess. Chess Prodigies provide financial support for qualified students through college scholarships and stipends for prestigious events. I've continued to make a yearly donation to this worthy organization. Then we stepped up and we created the Barber National Invitational Middle School of State Champions Endowment. I emphasize that word because that's a word I think we need to spend a lot of time with in the future. With US Chess, this endowment guarantees the Barber Invitational will continue in perpetuity. With the help of Ralph Bowman, we have contributed 3 humor and chess books and have sent all of the profits to US Chess Trust. My wife, my brother, and Ralph are currently writing my biography and intend to donate all of the proceeds to Chess Prodigies. At chess tournaments that I host, I encourage chess players to pay it forward and voluntarily teach other people, young and old, how to play chess. A philanthropist need not be rich, but over time, his donations of time, money can certainly grow and have a beneficial effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dewain. Mark, let's hear from you. What inspired you to get involved with chess on the philanthropic level?
Well, yeah, thank you, Geoff. So my story is a little bit more at the local level than Dewain or John's, but my wife and I were volunteering with our son's chess club in elementary school. We were leading the club for many years, and then I was also leading his middle school club. So continued to run both clubs, and we were serving about 200 students a year. And what really inspired us was we could see how much the chess programs were benefiting the students, their families, and the schools. And we were just thinking, well, like, how could we scale this? How could we, 200 families or 200 students a year is a lot, but there are all these other schools across North Carolina. There are like 3,000 schools across the state. How could, and very few of them had chess clubs. Maybe, we did a little bit of research, and it was maybe 200 or 300 of them out of the 3,000 had chess programs. And so we were thinking, so what could we do to reach that many more? And at first we volunteered with other nonprofits. We volunteered at the state level, sponsored some things, but eventually we decided to start our own nonprofit, and with the goal of helping those other schools start programs. And we provided chess sets, we provided instructional materials, chess kit accounts. So we were able to buy things in bulk and then make grants to these other schools. We would provide support online. I'm still working full time, so it's I have a regular day job. So I was trying to do this in a way that would scale for me as well. But we started this 5 years ago, and we started with schools. We found in some rural communities it was actually difficult to have after school programs because of transportation issues. But some of the schools suggested we work with the library. And so we added libraries to the program, and especially in rural areas, that was actually quite popular. So then we started supporting libraries, and then community centers seemed like a natural thing to add to that. And now we've had some boys and girls clubs. We've even had senior centers, which is not really chess and education, but it's still part of expanding chess. And so in 5 years, we're up to 110 or a little over 110 clubs across the state. And North Carolina has 100 counties. We're actually have clubs in 44 of them. So our original goal was to start 100 clubs, and we reached that this past year. So now we're going to try and reach something in every county. And I think one of the things that's kind of inspiring is to hear stories from some of these clubs that echo what my wife and I experienced in the clubs that we actually continue to run. And so it does seem to be working. The families and schools are having the same benefits in those other clubs, and that's really gratifying, and it motivates us to keep this up. So
thanks, Mark. I'm just curious, with the schools that you help out or even give grants to, you do not discriminate between like Title I or everyone is eligible. Is that right?
That's actually, yeah. So we had this debate, should we start with Title I or, and we decided not to. So we actually, any public school, any charter school, and then we decided at some point, well, we'll support private schools. We'll support, pretty much anyone. We've supported 2 different homeschool networks where they're like in a county, they have a network of, these parents, one of the counties, they have something like 1,000 students in their homeschool network. And so now they have a chess program so that, the kids can learn how to play chess and play amongst each other and then go to local tournaments and things. So, yeah, so we've taken a kind of an inclusive approach, and that's why it was then easy to add boys and girls clubs. Or this year we had our 2 scouting organizations, so they now can they have more resources to teach the chess merit badge. And then the senior centers is kind of neat because a number of the seniors, their motivation for learning how to play chess is to play with their grandkids. So so some of them are either getting chess kid accounts so that they can play remotely with their grandkids. And so we've taken a more inclusive approach, and we'll see if at some point we're constrained on resources, maybe we'd look at things differently, but it hasn't really been an issue.
Okay, thanks, Mark. John, I'll turn to you then. What inspired you to get involved with chess on a philanthropic level?
Sure. Well, Mark's comment about grandparents definitely resonates with me. I played a little bit of chess as a kid, then took a 25-year break. Was playing games with my 2 daughters, and we, exhausted Connect 4. That game had nothing more to give. It's a great game, but until you're about 5, after that, it's you're done with it. So, started playing chess with them, started, volunteering as a coach at their school. And then actually, Geoff, you deserve a lot of credit because I remember you had asked me to write a blurb, about my grandfather. He had taught me to play, when I was a kid, or I don't know if he taught me, but we certainly played together, against each other. And, then he died in a car accident when I was about 9, I think. And you had asked me to write a blurb for US Chess's Case for Support. And then I kind of procrastinated, didn't do it. You asked me again. Then I said, okay, let me just sit down and think about it and do it. And so I wrote it, and I just realized my mind went straight to my grandfather, and I have a picture of him and he and I playing, and that's really my only connection to him. And I thought, I started organizing a lot of chess tournaments in Maryland. I'm scholastic director there. And before COVID, we were doing about 21 annual tournaments. And, it's just a great way to see parents and their kids, grandparents and their kids playing. And so I just thought about it, and I wrote about my relationship with my grandfather, and that was my lasting memory. And then I thought, there's the Denker, there's the Barber, but the Barber is K-8. And I knew Dewain a little bit, but not super well. And so I thought, well, what about this idea of maybe a K-5 tournament? But I know that I worked with Sunil Weeramantree. He's the former chair of the Scholastic Council. I worked with him quite a bit, and had met him in 2009 at the All Girls Nationals. So he was kind of my first real kind of national figure connection at chess. And I knew he and Dewain were close. So I asked Sunil, I said, I ran that idea by him. I think we were in Madison at the US Open, ran the idea by him, said, what do you think? Do you think Dewain would look kindly on it? And he goes, let me ask him. So he went and asked Dewain, and Dewain, loved the idea. It had been part of, it's a legacy that passed down. So the Barber, the Denker was high school, but then Dewain's told the story of some middle school kids want to play. And so he kind of created a tournament to service those kids. And then you just realize this can go down and down and down. So the Rockefellers for K-5 players, the Ashley is for K-3 players. That will be starting soon. And then the Morphy will be to K-1 players, in the sense that kids get incredibly good. There's virtually no other activity, maybe music. They can get that good at a super young age, but they can't get that good in sports at that age. But at chess, anything is basically a mental activity, and they can get incredibly good at it. So I just thought this would be a way for me to give. And it's interesting hearing Mark talk about the local level. I gotta be honest, I felt a little bit conflicted, because by helping to start national tournaments, that's serving really only the elite, like, each state champions of each player. So you're really kind of servicing really, really strong players. But I remember a comment that Elliot Neff told me. He's a former member of the Scholastic Council. And I kind of expressed my reservations. He said, John, no, you have no idea. It really helps me. So he runs organizations, throughout the country. And he says, parents light up when I can tell them, hey, your fifth grader could be getting a $5,000 scholarship for playing chess. So never underestimate the value of, maybe there's some scholarship money at the end of this. I actually used to, I'm not ashamed to admit this, I used to bribe my kids who didn't really love chess. I give them $5 for every tournament they go to. So you're going to go, hey, whatever it takes to get them away from, their phones or mindless TVs or TV watching or screens or whatever. So, but so I remember Elliot saying that. I felt, okay, great. That's spectacular. He said, it's helping at a local level. He was doing, organizations in Florida. So I think, between kind of giving it maybe in a national level and elite national tournaments, but then that can also inspire, that'll inspire strong players at the to go to state championships. A lot of times, sometimes the strongest players won't go to their state championships, but if there's something at stake at the state championship, like for example, the Irwin for seniors, or the Denker, the Barber, the Rockefeller, Ashley Morphy, you'll get more of those younger kids going. And then the state tournament will be even more of a draw of strong players. And then everyone will be like, yeah, of course you go to the championship. That's your route to the US Open Invitationals. So, and then, how do you get to that state championship level? Well, you go to your local club, you start playing, and it's aspirational. Like, not many kids obviously will become state champions, but it's a great way to just give you that sense of, there's this next level, train at this level, maybe you'll get to the next level.
John, I wanted to add a note, if I may, on that, because I think this is a critical point. I've been asked a number of times, why did Grandmaster Denker decide to create his event? And his reply to the people when he talked to them was that it wasn't to create the best players in the United States and the best players in the world. His idea was very clear. If I can get that one or two very talented, strong players to show up at the state championships, then what would all the other little munchkins do? And that is the Denker legacy, straight up and clean and clear. You're absolutely correct. He said, get those strong players and give them a little Benny, and look who else will show up. I got phone calls from state organizers. What are you doing to my kids? And that's what I did. I explained that the goal for Grandmaster Denker was to bring those other kids in who had an opportunity to grow and understand chess. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. We're going to shift gears a little bit. The next questions that I have are open questions to the three panelists. So you can jump in, you can interrupt, cut each other off. But if you have something to say about this, feel free to answer the question. The first question I have for the three of you is, how can parents, educators, and local communities get more involved in supporting and promoting chess among young people in their areas?
Well, I'd say, volunteer as a chess coach. I remember Googling, my daughters got interested. I Googled their school and chess coach, and a guy named Chris Kim, whom I had never met, who's actually a national TD. He said, well, actually, I said, oh, great. There's a chess club at my school. My daughters can go to it. And goes, well, actually, I put this as a placeholder. I've been waiting for someone to come along to help me run it because I need someone to volunteer. And so, I volunteered. Right. So I'd say start there, start with your kids, and then, maybe next level, go to your, and you do not need to be good. I mean, my goodness, I am not a good chess player. In fact, I tried to explain en passant a couple of times, got it wrong. It was only about year 2 where I finally got en passant. So as long as you know how the pieces move and the basic rules, you're already better than 99% of kids when they're starting out, especially younger kids. And then, so just ignite a passion that they don't need a great coach. They just need an adult who's willing to volunteer some time to go over the basic moves. And, and don't be surprised if I took the beginners, the K1 to K3. Sometimes at the end of the year, they still move the bishops like a knight, and that's okay. Right. I mean, sometimes it takes a year and a half for them to get that. That's okay. Especially at the younger levels, it's fun. They like it. That's what you're doing. You're sharing a passion and getting them interested in the game. The level really doesn't matter for the most part.
I'd like to share my story about Alabama. And this one was a bit traumatic for me. I had a young lady who was a teacher, and she called me up and she says, I'm thinking I'd like to start up a chess program at my school. And I said, okay. And she said, what do I do? I said, well, just send a notice in the bulletin and then find out how many kids are interested. She called me 2 days later and she said, well, Dewain, what do I do with 80 kids? And at that point, I created a publication called A Guide to Scholastic Chess, which has been available now free, and we've mailed it out to over 50,000 people. That's parents, that's coaches, organizers, people on their executive boards at their school district. And I'm really happy that that publication has gotten such good distribution. And the only way I could have created that was to sit down and mentally put myself in a position of saying, I know nothing about chess, but I want to learn what's the first thing I probably have to do. And so that publication has helped out a lot. Thank you.
I'll just add that I kind of reiterate what John said, that people don't have to be grandmasters to start chess programs. And you just think about all of the local sports leagues that are out there, all these recreational leagues. There, in each state, there are thousands, maybe tens of thousands of parents who are coaching soccer teams or Little League baseball teams, and none of them were professional athletes. So it's the same thing. You don't have to be a professional chess player to lead a chess program. You just have to motivate children, and kind of organize and motivate children. And then there are all kinds of resources like the book that Dewain wrote, or US Chess has the Chess and Education Committee has includes that book, as well as other resources that are available. So they're just like the sports leagues make resources available to their coaches, their volunteer coaches. They're the same kinds of things available for people who want to start a chess club. And then there are people who maybe your passion isn't teaching, but you'd still want to support this. A lot of clubs could benefit from having access to space where they could hold a tournament or to meet. So maybe you can help with that. And then there are other people who have financial resources, and you can contribute. US Chess has a great program for Title I schools, so you could contribute to that and help schools all over the country. Most chess organizations, even in your state level, here in North Carolina, we have the Charlotte Chess Center, or in the Raleigh-Durham area, Triangle Chess. They each have nonprofit arms or affiliates. So if you wanted to sponsor a school and wanted to do it financially, there are those kinds of options as well for people to get involved.
Geoff, can I jump in with one other quick thing?
Sure.
Just one last thing would be rated tournaments. That's a next level. So it's one thing if you run unrated tournaments, coaching and lessons, but there usually needs to be a couple people in the state, if you're a smaller state, who can run a rated tournament. That is intimidating. I was not a PC guy. I'm an Apple guy. I had to, get Parallels Desktop in order to run Swissus on my computer. I had to learn how to do that. And one thing that really helped me was Tim Just has these free YouTube videos. It's called the 80/20 TD. I learned a lot of stuff from that, just kind of watching, he had about 8 videos, how to, upload the database, blah, blah, all this kind of stuff. And it's mind numbing, but if you get it wrong, everything fails. So you do need to learn how to do that stuff. And it's out there and it's free. And what's better is if you can find someone who can coach you along the way. But if I'm not a very highly skilled technical person, but I had to learn, so it is doable.
Thanks, John. I want to also mention that Mike Neatman, as we were talking, posted a link to Dewain's guide to Scholastic Chess, so you can access that from the chat section here on the webinar if you want to look that up. The next question for the three of you that I have is, how can we ensure that chess programs and tournaments are accessible to students from all socioeconomic backgrounds?
Let me touch base on that. And I'm gonna lay this in the hands of Renee and ask her to take a serious, hard look at this. A number of years ago, probably 30 years ago, a religious group decided to rent space at a public school. There was a protest. It went to the Supreme Court. When it got there, the decision was that all activity at public schools had to be curriculum-based. That was the year I was taking a national team. I went up to my principal. He said, okay, you can take your national team. I went to the school board. I said, I'd like to take my national team. They said, no, you can't do that. And then they said this to me: you are not a curriculum-based activity, and therefore your group of activities and students and that type of thing doesn't quite match up with what the Supreme Court said. So what I did was I went to the California curriculum-based information, pulled up 14 matching activities which connect with chess. I went before the school board and I said, here, I am curriculum-based. And therefore, I believe we need to start taking a hard look at states which might have some reason for not wanting to support chess, because we are curriculum-based and we are in that light. One final note on that. Here's something that US Chess, not a lot of people may know. I went to the NEA convention. Folks, this is not 500 people. This is 13,000 people. I proposed that chess become an integral part of the curriculum activities of public schools in the United States. I barely missed the opportunity to have that NEA statement. I'm not saying we had to have a class of chess, but chess is a component of the curriculum within the entire United States. I would hope we go back to NEA, go back to the state the state education associations, and work on doing that, because that makes it so much easier for our volunteers to step up and say, well, this is a part of the educational curriculum. And maybe it's being done, I don't know, but something to consider. Thank you.
And one quick thought, not so much on developing locally, but in terms of local kids going to nationals. In the same way, you know, doubling down on Mark's comment, my comment about you don't have to be a strong player to be a decent chess coach. You do not have to be a strong player to go to a national championship. So there are unrated sections, there are low under sections, and US Chess has an at-risk youth program where coaches can apply and receive scholarships. I'm sure Dewain will be talking about this shortly. And it's a great way for kids who have never been, you know, in a plane, maybe not even outside their state, and to go and just to give them that feeling of, wow, you know, being in a room with a couple of 1,000 kids. And yeah, they might not be at the you know, the far end of the room where the championship players are playing, but they're in the room, and it can inspire them. And the at-risk youth program can sponsor those kids, cover, you know, they can get a full ride, airfare, you know, bus fare, hotel room, and cover registration fees. So, and I would encourage other people who are interested in giving to chess, when you give to US Chess's at-risk youth program, some of that money, if you give unrestricted or specifically for, say, tournament participation, you can be sponsoring kids to go to US Chess national tournaments and have that experience of, okay, if you've done a couple of local tournaments or state or regional tournaments, what's next level? Going to a national championship. But again, you do not have to be an incredibly strong player. You can in fact be even a new player, really. You can be unrated, which means you haven't even played 24, 25 rated games. So US Chess Nationals serve players of all levels.
And at the local level, I mean, we do similar things, right? So US Chess sells vouchers for Scholastic membership. So a Scholastic membership is normally $20 a year. But if as an organizer, we can buy these in bulk, so you can get them for $11 or even $9. I think if you $9 is if you buy 300 at a time. I think it goes even lower than that. And so when you get them at a lower cost like that, then it's pretty easy to make them available for free to, you know, to students who wouldn't otherwise be able to play. And so, you know, it's very easy to kind of offer scholarships so that kids can get a chance to play in local tournaments or even go to the state championship. So we can, you know, provide scholarships, you know, and nobody knows the kid gets a scholarship, and you know, they get to go and have experience of playing in these, you know, in a state championship. It's maybe not thousands of kids, but it's hundreds of kids. And it still feels like you're in one of those chess movies, right? You know, you're getting to, you know, experience playing this big hall, and it gets really quiet, and all you can hear are pieces and clocks, and it's a really neat experience. And you know, it's a principal explained to me that a lot of kids come to school with advantages. Their parents had more resources, they read to them, they had more books, they had chances to go to museums and things like that, and they have a head start in English or math or science. But very few kids come to school with a head start in chess. And so when you put those kids in a chess club, and the kids know this is an intellectual activity, and if they start playing, it's like anything else. They practice a little bit at it, and they'll get good at it. And now all of a sudden, there's a kid who doesn't consider themselves smart, but really all it is they haven't had the same head start. But now they've been practicing at chess, and they beat the kid who's like the smartest kid in his class in their class in math or English or science. And it's kind of a life-changing experience for them, because they did this in an intellectual activity. So it kind of occurs to them and said, well, if I can win at chess, then why can't I also be the smartest kid in my class in math or science? And so to me, that's a real reason to provide this kind of opportunity for all children, especially those who are economically disadvantaged.
Thanks, Mark. We're a little behind in time, so
Yeah,
the
sorry
second
about that.
question- no, that's not a problem. But this is probably a question that lends itself to kind of a longer answer. So if you can be as succinct as possible, but as philanthropists, the three of you, what have been some of the most rewarding moments or memorable experiences that came from giving to chess programs?
So I'll give a couple examples because I hear from these different schools that we've supported. So I had teachers contacting me. Their class was like overwhelmed with, and here was like a small grant of chess sets and materials and things. And the kids said, "This is the first time anyone has supported us. The football team always gets so much support, but and these kids are not, football athletes. They're not football players, but this is the first time that they've ever gotten, that anyone's ever supported them." And so it was like this very meaningful thing for them. And then this past year, I had a teacher who started a new chess program at her middle school. And it's a school that's designated by their county as providing additional resources and services for students with various handicaps. And so they have a number of students who are visually impaired. And I had told the teacher, so I actually visited the school and showed them a chess set that's designed for the visually impaired. And later in the year, she contacted me that she had a student who wanted to join the club. And so I sent her the set. And she emailed me back to say it was magical when the girl was able to play with her friends using that chess set. So I'd say that's actually been, in quite a while, that's been one of the most rewarding moments.
That's a great story. John or Dwayne?
One of my rewarding moments, and that I still get emotional today, but you never know who's going to walk in your classroom. I taught 30 years, almost every year of that involved the chess club. The teachers on the campus said, when I walked in the teacher's lounge one time at lunch, they said, "Who are you?" Because I hosted my chess club during lunch so the kids could come in. And they walked in and they said, "Yeah, we'd like to," each of them said, "Yeah, I want to learn a little bit about chess and become involved." And so this one young fellow named, we'll call him Randy because that was who he was. Randy came in and says, "Yeah, I'd like to join the chess club." So we started along and we played our first club tournament. And Randy didn't win any games, but I did have a chance to show him some ideas with a couple other students. We go on to the second tournament within the club, and Randy did not win any games. And we did this for nearly 5 months, where Randy played his game and his heart out, and you could tell he was really concentrating, but he never won a game. And you know what we think about players like that? He's going to quit. He'll walk out the door and never come back. And then one day Randy came in and he sat down and he played a game and he won it. And I told the class, I said, "I want to congratulate Randy. He just won his first game." Every student stood up and clapped for Randy because they knew how challenging this game can be, no matter what level you're at. And the final story to wrap up Randy's story about this, Randy received a trophy and was the third best player in my club that year. And he didn't quit. And so we want to work with young people and support them and realize that they are all kinds of challenges out there in the world that they're faced with, whether it's learning English and vocabulary, or whether it happens to take a round ball and bounce it up and down. And so we can't give up on them. We got to stay there with Randy, and we've got to support Randy. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great story, Dewain. That's a powerful story. John, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll just add real quickly, not so much in donating to US Chess, but just running tournaments locally. When parents of autistic kids would come up and say, you know, this is the most social my kid is all week. It's his favorite time of the week. You know, it's his or her form of communicating with other players. It's through chess. It's not just, you know, chit-chatting, it's going over games. But for them, that is the most social moment of the week. And just knowing that we were providing them with a kind of a special route to socialization through chess.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to switch gears one more time. Now I'm going to ask that our roundtable members join us, and that's going to be Renee and Devon Croxton and Christina Mullinax, but it also includes the three main panelists. So it's the six of you. And so feel free again to jump in and just give your opinion on these things. I have one question that I particularly would like Devon's insight into, but and that is, how do you see the future of at-risk youth and women and girls in chess in regards to chess? We've actually, there's some chats coming up on the side here that I can see people are asking about that very question about women and girls. But women and girls coupled with at-risk youth, I'd like to get Devon's thoughts. Anyone's free to jump in, but anyway, how do all of you, how do you see the future of at-risk youth and women and girls in regards to chess?
Thanks, Geoff. So for me, I see two things happening. First is the language and the stigma around chess is going to be changing and evolving. I think that there's more positive speak about chess, and it's not just a stigma of you have to be smart to participate, or it's for nerds, or any of these different things. And now it's transforming to a thing where chess is becoming cool. And even if you add in the technology aspect of it, where you have people who are interested in gaming and streaming, and now they're seeing their favorite chess players promote chess and make it more exciting and entertaining to watch. And even a step further than that, I see that educators and school institutions are seeing chess as like more of the rewards and the positivity around chess. And so they're incorporating chess not only as an elective, but some schools have experimented with it being an official course. And the more we push the numbers of like how it's academically and personally transforming kids, whether it's personally or socially, like John said, or even academically, that stigma is going to evolve and change. And things such as the Girls Club room has been really beneficial. I've been able to see it in real time where kids from all over the country are happy to run into their friends from different states that they wouldn't have met or seen otherwise, but they have a sense of community. And now, even as John also mentioned, a sense of belonging. And so now it's like, I belong to the chess community. And I think a combination of these things is just going to keep pushing chess forward more and more.
Thanks, Devon. That's a great answer. Mentioned some things there that I was not aware of. You know,
can I share a note with you on that?
Sure.
The concept of a stigma, which has been sometimes used by a variety of adults as well as young people. I was in Los Angeles, and I happened to be selling some chess equipment. And during the course of that, I was just sitting there at the desk, and I'm not paying too much attention one way or the other. And then all of a sudden, I realized there was somebody standing in front of me that wanted to buy some chess books. I looked up. When I looked up, I saw a belt. I did not see a face. I saw a belt. I looked up higher, and I saw the chest. And I looked at a 6'7" basketball player by the name of Bill Walton standing in front of me with chess books in his hands, wanting to buy the chess books. I went into every level of trauma that you can imagine because I was looking at one of the best in that sport. Here's what you may not know, folks. In Kansas City, the Chiefs have chess sets in their locker area, and they play chess before the game. If we don't find these people that so many young people recognize as successful in life and encourage them to be part of our advertising, our information, and that, I think we've missed a very serious opportunity that could help out. Recently, a young fellow passed away when he was killed on a helicopter. And I will touch base because I was asked to provide instructional information for that young fellow. And eventually he did locate a chess master who came out and did work with him in that. But I think that community, if we call it a community, should be addressed, should be located, and should be encouraged to work with us and support things that we are doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Dewain.
Yeah, I'll say for women and girls, there some things have been changing. There are as Dewain was saying, there are now all these streamers, and many of them are women. And girls have now this opportunity. I've been seeing it at the middle school level, and I'm fairly certain it's happening at the high school level too. So that kids are learning how to play chess from these streamers that they can see on their phone, and so a lot more kids, including girls, know how to play than used to be the case. And if we can provide opportunities for them to play together in person, we can actually, kind of welcome them into the larger chess community. And so I think if we can leverage that by having more events that may be specific to girls, that'll happen. So we've been, at a local level, we've been trying to sponsor the girls' championship and also run programs that are, for girls or women. We just recently ran something for chess moms, right? Because they're already connected somewhat to chess because their children are playing in chess, but we ran a program where they could get a lesson and then play a tournament themselves. US Chess wrote, published a nice article about it that my wife wrote. So hopefully it can give serve as a template that other groups could leverage around the country.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, I have a question here, and I'd like to get Christina Mullinix's opinion because she's on the front lines as a chess coach at the school, and the question is, everyone is free to jump in and give their opinion as well, but how do you believe chess contributes to the overall development of young people, both academically and personally?
So I guess I would say, as you said, I am on, the front lines. I work with my high school students, elementary and middle school students. And I guess the most recent thing is we were actually the recipient of one of the Title I travel grants. I took 14 kids up to the Baltimore High School Championship. And as John Rockefeller pointed out, these are not the highest rated kids in the state of Tennessee. I had a couple playing in the under 12 section. Most of mine were in the under 8 section. And I don't think I've stopped hearing about it since April. Their trophy, they got 7th place in the under 8 team section, is sitting in the front of the school. I think about 9 of them on their first plane ride ever. Several of them first time out of the state. I am convinced within myself the first time a couple of them had ever sat in a restaurant and ordered from a menu, from the way they acted at least. And I mean, just watching them experience it, it just really opened my eyes. Like, I knew I had had the joy of going to a couple of national events as a high schooler myself, but it just, their lives changed in that moment. And I cannot express enough gratitude. And to back to the point of, I think y'all have mentioned the rated events, I try to make sure my kids get all these experiences, because when they go off, hopefully to a post-secondary education, those are the things they're going to remember. Those are the things that they're going to treasure in their futures. And those are the things that are going to have the biggest impact. So, it does. It has such a huge impact on these kids, and I am very grateful for it.
Thanks, Christina.
Just to add on to that too, because I could really resonate with that feeling. So I grew up as a player as well, and it was like donations and funding that allowed my school to attend nationals for the first time. And my first plane ride was to Dallas, Texas for a chess national event. And so it's like really amazing that it's all coming full circle. And now that I'm in a position as a director, I can give that feeling to other people. And some of my best moments in the past couple of months have been shaking hands with like coaches and players who are attending nationals for the first time and telling us about their program. And in particular, this was a really shocker for me, but in Atlanta at the middle school nationals, a principal actually traveled with their team. He's like, I don't know anything about chess, but I want to experience it and just really understand, what's going on. And like, he was hooked, after like the second day of being at the event. And now he's talking about incorporating that within their budget and now changing policy and things like that. And so it's amazing how like once people experience it, that's all it takes to really start driving and making a big change. So, but he was just happy to see the character development of his students, and he wants to spread that as much as possible.
Following up on Devon's comment there, if anyone is having trouble convincing a local administrator of the value of chess, Dan Lucas, who's the Senior Director of Communications for US Chess, interviewed some kids from Baltimore, at-risk youth kids, when they went to high school nationals in Memphis, I think it was 2 years ago. And he has about, I don't know, 5 or 6 interviews. And one of them was with a kid who opened up, and, Dan didn't prod him, but he talked with the coach, and the coach said, no, the kid likes telling a story. And the kid talked about how he'd been shot in the head the year before, and that chess was helping him to learn how to make better decisions. So he was taking some responsibility for a bad move in life, as well as, bad moves on the chessboard. But then, you got to start someplace. And, I think a lot of people, myself included, were brought to tears by that interview. It was just remarkable. And if that doesn't get people to get motivated to see the value of chess, nothing will. That video in particular, you Google it, it's somewhere on US Chess's website. Google can help you find it. But that would be the kind of thing I would include as to say, if there's a high school administrator who isn't all in on the value of this, maybe include a link to that, and that video will do all the talking you need.
If a child is struggling in my chess club, I was trying to figure out, when I wrote the guide to scholastic chess, what could I do? What could I reduce the tension, the stress, the concern? And one thing I realized was that kids are focused on numbers and points. How many points did you get for this? How many points did you get for that? So in the guide to scholastic chess, there's something called a chess rating system. I invented it. I'm not saying it's the best in the world. There is this other one invented by a few other people that's been running around certainly a whole lot longer than I have. This club rating system was special in that I didn't penalize as heavily for a loss as I did for a win and a draw. So a kid who used the system that started with 900 points and played in local tournaments in the classroom, in the school, whatever, not rated, but opportunity to get comfortable with a number and with a system that they could work with. Now, here's what I added. And then I thought, hold it, what can I add? And here's what I added. If you happen to go and play at a tournament at a local club, or you play at a tournament that you may go to that's being played on the weekend. When you come back, you will receive club points for participation. We are not into that, and I think it helps give the kids and feel good about, I was there. No, I only won one game, but I was there. And so those participation points are a plus in terms of how the kid is working along and remaining in the club. He comes in, oh, look at the last tournament. I got another 83 points or whatever. And so some type of system, which doesn't necessarily have to be right by the book USCF, may want to be considered a club rating system, which is what I'm talking about. And if kid goes to a nationals, we give him 500 club rating points. So it does give them a feeling of comfort and not feeling like, oh gosh, I don't know if we have the money or I have the time or whatever to be able to go to play in a rated system. Thank you. I just thought I'd share with you on that.
Thank
Geoff,
you.
can
Thank
I
you.
reply? Jeff, can I reply briefly to Monica's question earlier
Sure.
about girls in chess? I did not have a huge amount of success in keeping my two daughters interested in chess, but they did both go to more than 100 tournaments before they eventually, quit. Right around 12 is around when a lot of girls, 10 to 12 is when girls quit, unfortunately. The one thing that helped get me from, say, 10 to 100 tournaments was going with friends. So that friend, Chris Kim, his two daughters went. Both of my daughters, neither of them love chess at all. But I'd say, hey, girls, do you want to go to this tournament? And they never asked anything about anything other than, are Madeline and Charlotte going? And if Madeline and Charlotte were going, then they'd go. So, make it, friend oriented, social. So it's not just the game itself. It's sometimes part of the other stuff. Sometimes they'd even go to the Maryland Open because they like the shape of the elevator. I'm not kidding about this. It was a glass elevator that had this kind of cool entry into the foyer. I've told other chess purists, they think that's a horrible story. And I said, look, I'll take whatever I can get. So
It's not.
Anything you can do to get them to go that maybe isn't just chess itself, that's fine, I think.
Thanks, John. In the interest of time, I'm going to forego our last question and open things up to our Q&A. And I don't know who, if Renee or if Christina was able to glean the questions off of that people submitted. But I'd like to just have those questions directed at anyone that wants to. If they're directed specifically to somebody, that's fine. But if they're not, if any of you want to jump in and answer the question, that would be fine as well.
Thanks, Geoff. I did see Monica with a question about girls, and I wanted to just throw in a couple of examples of some things that I have found success with in my own club here in Alabama. Our organization actually has a position for girls chess coordinator, and that person's job is to think of fun events for the girls to do just together, because your question pointed out that the girls are outnumbered in co-ed events. And so we try to create just all girls events in a local setting, not just with chess, but just for socialization. And so I would encourage you to do something like that in your own community and be the person that sparks girls wanting to gather, because like John said, they want to be with their friends. And so please contact me afterwards and I can share some other ideas as well. Christina, I did not see any other questions. Did you see any in the chat?
No, ma'am.
I saw a question, and I think it was when Devon was speaking. Somebody had a question about they teach autistic kids, and they were wondering, I think, if there's a program or if US Chess addresses that in some way. So I maybe the person could resubmit. I don't know if it was a question or a statement, but
I responded to it. I asked for a little bit of clarification to make sure I could get them what they were looking for. I haven't
Okay.
seen a follow-up yet.
Okay, okay.
I will add that at the upcoming St. Louis Chess Conference, October 24th through the 26th, there have been some submissions for presentations that focus on autism and special education. And so stay tuned for an announcement about the program. And there should be some information that comes out after that conference. And there's still time to register for that as well.
Okay.
Geoff, just
Well,
some point of clarification for at-risk youth, is that specifically only economically at risk? Because I would think, you know, autistic or kids with learning disabilities, that's a form of risk in a significant way.
That's an interesting question. I think it's the first time that it's been asked. I think that's certainly something that should be discussed. But yeah, you raise a very good question. I think that, you know, historically we have thought of it as at-risk youth as it being a financial disadvantage, and not something that is you know, any other kind of I don't know, disability. But yeah, that's an excellent question, John. Well, if we don't have any other questions, we're right at 9:01. I want to thank the participants and the people that attended the webinar. I hope this has been helpful in one way or another to get a better idea of how philanthropy can inform chess and education. But anyway, thank you very, very much for the time. I wish, you know, it was a very short webinar. There was so much to cover. I think we could have gone much deeper, but you know, maybe it's something we can do again. But thank you for coming.
Geoff, I saw that Eladio had his hand raised. I'll certainly try to stay. I'll try to answer any other questions if anyone else wants to stay on.
Okay.
I'd be happy to stay any
Okay.
length of time.